We're actually at the IBM stand at Client Server World at Olympia 2, which I won't tell you is on today and tomorrow because I'm sure you have better things to do. But it's certainly on all day Thursday, so we'll be on the IBM stand at Client Server World at Olympia 2 on Thursday from 9 to 5. So if you'd like to see a true client-server application using distributed objects, feel free to come along. The entrance is free. What I'm going to do this afternoon, though, is show you the P390, or what's more correctly called the PC Server 500 System 390. I'm going to, since I'm going to try and prove to you that it is, after all, just another MVS system, we're not actually going to spend the whole of the session waiting for MVS to IPO. I'm going to show you a few other things as well to do with the P390 that I think you'll find quite interesting. The first question that we often get is, what is it? And actually, it's quite mind-boggling once you get the hang of it. How many people here ever ran MVS under VM or as a guest of VM? Right? Didn't you just wish you could just run your system without VM? Well, for those of you that did wish, now you can run it without VM. Now it runs under OS 2. So we'll see, I'm going to show you how that works and what's involved with the technology, how the software works, and we'll even, with the help of my beautiful assistant, both worlds. It's a system that's based on a 90 megahertz Pentium OS 2 Intel-based system. So it has a full function Intel-based system that can do anything that a normal OS 2 system can do. So, for example, you can run it as a LAN server and use the LAN server as a normal LAN server. On the mainframe side, it has a full-blown, well, almost full-blown, and I'll show you, and you have in the handout a list of the bullets for the things that it does and doesn't do. But I'll show you some more on those in just a minute. But on the mainframe side, it is a genuine 390. I've often been asked if it's the same CMOS processor that we produce for the other boxes. And I think probably the accurate answer would be that it's a derivative of those. So it's not absolutely identical to the CMOS chip in the real mainframe systems, but it is a fully functional System 390 processor. When we got it yesterday, the machine, since mine's actually up in Olympia, I got this one from Germany. It came via Cannes in France, where they had a VM user group meeting. So there'd been a VM user group meeting in Cannes in the south of France, and they sent this machine up by overnight air freight. It arrived yesterday morning. My assistant here unpacked it all, clicked on the IPL button, which we'll see in just a minute, and lo and behold, it only had VM and VSE installed on it. So I guess you wouldn't be so impressed, although personally I was quite happy with it. So we came in last night and it took us 2.5 hours to install MVS on it. So we had MVS up and running in 2.5 hours. And it is we've got 5.1 installed on this at the moment because it's the code that I'm using for the object demo, which is actually part of a beta test for the distributed object manager for MVS. So 2.5 hours last night, installed MVS, left it up and running, came in this morning, powered it off and brought it in. So what I'd like to do, without going any more in terms of what the box is to actually show it you. Jonathan, could we have the barcode on now, please? Hopefully it will go blank for a few moments. So what this effectively is, as I say, it's a full-blown OS 2 PC server. Until very recently you could buy, and I think you can still buy them, but they come with a different processor now. You could actually buy this exact model as a PC Server 500. It has all of the availability and reliability characteristics that you would expect from a professional server series range. And I'll show you some of those a little later on when we look inside the machine. So what it does to start with is it goes through the normal BIOS power startup sequence, which you can see is starting up on the screen right now. The machine has 32 megabytes of non error-corrected memory for the OS2 side. Oops, I knew I'd forgotten something. What did they say about demos, dogs and animals? Yes, so you can, forgot, and we'll get to the important one in a minute that you'll all recognise. You can attach this to a LAN in just the same way as you can attach anything else to a LAN. So it's just a regular token ring cable, and it uses just a token ring on the PC server side as well. It also has an Ethernet adapter to allow you to plug into an Ethernet-based LAN. So I have to plug this in, although there's nothing on the other end, so I don't think this one's the important one. The one that is the important one, and the one that you may be interested in, and you'll know what will try and happen before I put this cable on, right? Anyone tried to IPL their mainframe with the channel cables open? Well, this is a mainframe channel cable. Okay? We have in here a channel card. These don't come as a standard part of the PC Server 500 or the P390. You have to order these as an optional add-on. And I don't have one of these, which is why I forgot it. The only reason you would need one of these, and this, is if you want to connect to any real mainframe devices to the PC Server 500. You can connect, with the exception of disks, of which I'm told there is a timing issue with the disks, you can connect almost to any other mainframe-based device. And you can daisy chain them. So, for example, you can connect full-size tapes to it. You can connect mainframe printers, which I know of one company that's actually using one of these to drive a 3900 laser printer in a remote location. So you can connect anything, and they can be daisy chained off of here. So I better just attach this before we get into IPL and MVS. So I go through the IPL routine again. How long did I say I got one? It goes through the OS2 startup. Clearly, what you'll see here is it's actually testing for both the regular LAN adapter. I can't point to the screen. Let's see that. It's going through the regular LAN adapter, both Ethernet and token ring. This record is to do with the CD. I'll show you the CD-ROM player in it. So it has a CD-ROM player in it. And what it's done is it's tested the CD-ROM player, established that there is a CD in it, but the CD isn't a bootable CD-ROM. So that's what that error message meant. It meant there is a CD in it, but you can't boot off of it. It is our intention next year to deliver OS 390 on a CD. Not for the only mechanism to deliver it, but one of the deliverables will be on a CD. So you'll be able to actually install MVS off of a CD-ROM, which will make it much easier to do the software installation on this. Currently, the only way to do it is either to buy the box pre-configured or to use a 4mm DAC tape. So we're going through the LAN startup here behind me, starting up all the different bits of communications software. I should have timed this. What was that about rehearsals? Here we go. Press enter. I guess that's me. There we go. This is where we'd been quicker to bring the MAU in, but in okay, so here we are. This is a full-blown OS2 system. I can open a window. I haven't installed anything in particular on this, but it's just a regular OS2 system. The MVS files are actually stored on a separate. We have this particular machine is actually set up as two partitions on a single disk, and I'll show you the disks in a minute. But it's set up as two partitions on the disk. I have a C drive, which is where OS2 is installed. And along with the OS2 on the C drive, we have the P390 control program, the P390 control code. There are some utilities that you need to use. And then on the D drive, we actually have the other systems. VM's gone already because I ran out of disk space for that. I think actually VSE's gone as well. I deleted that. No, I didn't. So there you are. We've still got VSE there. I won't be running that this afternoon. So what happens is inside the MVS directory, yes, inside the MVS directory, and I'll show you how this is done in just a minute. What you can see here is that we have a number of files. I'm not really sure what these are. These are to do with the P390 itself. I'm not sure why they're in those directories. I guess these are some kind of dumps. When were they created? Well, not yesterday, so they're old. The ones that we're actually interested in is this file, okay, this file here, the devmat.ad.mvs file, and these files, okay? These files, as you might surmise from their size, are in fact the MVS disks. So when we start up MVS in just a moment, we'll actually be loading MVS, or booting, we don't say booting, do we, in large systems? What is it, IPLing? Yes, IPLing MVS. We'll actually be IPLing MVS off of this disk. And as far as MVS is concerned, this is a 3380, and I'll show you how the mapping's done. And then these are some of our other work disks. And it is a full 5.1 system, including TSO and a few program products. I didn't really stay to see what else was installed on it last night. The first thing I'll show you though is, the first thing I'll show you is the P390 configurator. The P390 configurator, for those of you that have never come across one of the predecessors to this box, for there have been at least 4 that I've seen and worked with. The immediate yes, 4. There have been at least 4 that I've seen and been involved with. The immediate predecessor to this was the P370. The predecessor to that was a box called the 7437, which again was floor standing workstation based, but it was, you know, this would be the PS2 or the IBM PC, and then there would be an equivalent size box which contained the 390 side of the logic. And then before that there was an AT370, some of you may remember, and the XT370. The configurator, as a lot of the other code that actually supports this, is a direct descendant of the code written originally for that. So, operator control panel, give the device type, to specify a label, the device again, the physical characteristics of the device, and then a size. And then over here, you can see quite simply, this is how we map that OS2 file into a 3380. That's all that's needed. And then there are a number of other screens, or a number of other things that you can do. One of the things that you might have noticed here is that what we've effectively got here are 2 OS2 files containing the standalone executable versions of DFDSS and ICK-DSF are actually OS2 files, but they're actually emulating tapes. So if I need to IPL DSF standalone, for example, to initialize the MVS disks under OS2, I effectively IPL from a tape address. So, I could go on about this for ages, but won't, I promise. What we're going to do? Oh yes. One of the other things that's actually running in here, in order to run this with screens and consoles, we need to start Communications Manager. So I have an ordinary copy of OS2 Communications Manager in here with 4 terminal sessions. What I'm going to do now is IPL MVS, and we'll see, hopefully. Do it like that one of these we'll see in a couple of moments that one of these screens will in fact switch to becoming the NVS console. What you can see down here is the system activity display for the P390, so you can see NVS is busy here, and in a couple of minutes or in a couple of moments one of these will actually switch to the console. The other screens, two of them will be available for sessions to log on to TSO inside this box, and one of the 3270 sessions, or one of the comms manager sessions, remains available so that you can then go and log on to any other system via obviously the network connection, which we don't have, so we won't be demonstrating that this afternoon. Yes, there we go. So it's switched automatically to the NVS master console. We'll go and have a look now and see. It seems to be waiting for something. Any suggestions what it might be waiting for? What have I got to type? Those of you that know me will know that A, I'm not an NVS systems programmer, and B, I'm actually not much of a systems programmer anymore either. So I'm sure there must be a way to automate that, because when I IPL NVS on my other P390, that doesn't come up. So it's actually going now into IPL, and you'll see this will carry on. What's actually going on inside? So we'll come back to that. I should have my trusty pointer. Jonathan, could we switch to the video camera now, please? Thank you. Right, so he said hopefully the channel cable won't come off. What you can see around the front here, can you see this? Oh yeah, it's splendid stuff. What you can see around the front here now is it's quite straightforward. There's the power supply here, a 2.88 megabyte. Try to keep still away. Stop laughing. This is a 2.88 megabyte diskette drive, which I have yet to see used as part of the MVS configuration. I haven't yet found a use for it. The CD, again, will look like a tape. You can make that look like a 3480 tape device so that you can actually IPL from it and load program code. This is a 4mm DAC tape drive. In the 4mm DAC tape drive go, surprisingly, 4mm DAC tapes. And this one's empty. I must have left it in the drive. Hopefully it will come out, because I didn't take it out before last night. No, it's probably rewinding. Oh. Anyway, inside the 4mm DAC tape drive, is it coming out? Oh yes, very good. What you might be surprised to know is this is 120 feet of tape. I'm not sure what that is in metric, but it's 120 feet of tape. Using software compression, you can back up 12 or effectively 12 gigabytes of data to that. So I had my whole NVS system on that tape last night, and some people might be impressed by that, others not. That if you come to Client Server World on Thursday, I'll show you a different tape which has got a whole NVS system, a whole VM system, a whole VSE system, 3 copies of VTAM, 2 copies of TCP/IP, a copy of Sapiens, and a few more things besides. So when someone comes to you and talks to you about tape capacity, just remember those. But it's actually software compressed, which means it takes just 14 hours to do the backups. And what do we know about PC tape drives? They don't read after they write. So if you want to verify the tape, guess how long it takes then. So that's not one of the strong features, but it's flexibility. And you can order mainframe PTFs now, if you've got the right media codes. You can order mainframe PTFs on this. I know, because this is how I get my supply of backup tapes. So that's the tape drive, the CD drive, and the diskette drive. There's a little thing in here for, I'm not really sure, it's just for using. What we're going to do now is start to take we'll start to take the box apart.
It's the operator's rest room.
That's it, the operator's rest room. What you can see down here now, if you could just go down a bit, Mike, sorry. I promise that's the first time I've said that to him. What you can see here now...
Stop making me laugh.
What you can see here now are 5 disks. Each of these disks is 2¼ gigabytes in capacity. I actually haven't checked how this system is set up. You have a choice of how you configure it, because it's a RAID array. These are SCSI drives, and they can be configured as a RAID array. You can certainly configure them in RAID 1 or RAID 5 mode for availability, so that in either RAID 1 or RAID 5 mode, you can replace any disk with another without having to shut the system down, or without losing the data. I'm not sure how this is configured, but on my system, on my P390, I have it configured in RAID 0 mode, which means what? It means you get full use of the DASD capacity. In RAID 1 or RAID 5 mode, you're actually, in capacity terms, limited to 4 disks, as the 5th one is used for the what? Parity, yes, that's it, for the parity disk, so that it can actually recover the bad disk in the middle. So you only get to use 4/5 of the capacity in RAID 1 or RAID 5 mode. I have mine in RAID 0 mode. It apparently makes some difference to the performance if you configure it in RAID 0 mode as well. Personally, it doesn't when you run MVS or VM or VSE on the system. It seems to make little or no difference in performance terms. So it's quite interesting, and when MVS has finished IPLing, at the end we'll pick a lucky winner, and you can tell me which disk to take out, and we'll see if it stays up while I take one of the drives out. I've seen this guy who actually works in Atlanta in the IBM PC server company in Atlanta do demonstrations with this box, and he does it professionally. I have no idea whether this is even configured as a RAID array, but we'll have a look and see at the end. So, those are the disks. What we'll do now is take a look inside at the cards itself. Hopefully you can see here. Oh, sorry, Mike. Well, just about. Could you just go back out to start with, Mike? And stop. That's fine. What you can see here is that down here, there is in fact installed in this machine, and I can attest to that, having tried to lift the damn thing up. There is an optional power supply. Normally, this part isn't filled in, so it would normally only have this power supply. So as this model has actually got a dual power supply in it, a power failure either side can drive it. About here on the card, although it's not particularly clear from the actual video, if you'd like to zoom in a bit, Mike, on this part. Okay, and stop. Thank you. What you can see here is two 16 megabyte OS2 memory cards. So these are the OS2 memory cards. So it's 32 megabytes there for OS2 memory. If you'd like to go up, Mike, slowly, stop. We can just about see, and I'm sure if I pull it back in a moment, you'll be able to see the whole thing. But this card at the bottom is what most of us would think of as the motherboard. Strangely enough, it's not the backplane here, which contains all the intelligence. This card here has actually got the 90 megahertz Pentium processor on it. So this is the 90 megahertz Pentium processor. If I tip this up a bit, we should get a little bit more light in it. Is that any lighter up here? Yeah? So what you should see here now is 2 cards, a mother card and a daughter card. On the lower card, which is the daughter card, there are actually, we counted them, I can't remember, but there's 128 megabytes of mainframe memory, error-corrected memory, on the daughter card, which is the bottom. And that's the quickest way you can tell how much memory is installed on these boxes, is because the only one with 128 megabytes is the one with the daughter card. All the others have a different arrangement for memory. So this one is for the memory. This is actually the 390 processor card, and again, I'm not sure if you can see it without looking behind me, but you can actually see in here the processor sink to help dissipate the heat generated by the card. So that's actually the card itself with the 390 processor on. And one of the reasons why we don't sell the card separately from the box is because it has such a large heat dissipation requirement. It generates a lot of heat. There are 3 fans here, and when I asked the guys in development whether the box was light sensitive, whether I could actually point a bright light into it, they said, oh, I wouldn't worry about that, but don't run it with the sides off. Or don't run it for long with the sides off, because it will get very hot without the air flowing past it constantly. So no water, but quite an air movement requirement. Up the top here you can see a few other cards. There's a VGA or an SVGA adapter card. That's the token ring card. Yes, no, that's the token ring card. So what the heck's that? Oh, that's the Ethernet card. That's an Ethernet card. So I did this once before. I did a presentation. Someone asked a question. I was on video and I did that. And also, there's no point in me putting my head in the way, is there? So this is the Ethernet card. That's the token ring card. At the top here is the 370 channel card, which again has quite an arrangement of parts on it. And then the very top card is the SCSI controller card. So that's the actual hardware. You can put up to, I think, 256 megabytes of. No, it's 128 megabytes of mainframe memory and 256 megabytes of OS2 memory. Really, if you're just going to use the processor for application development or a lightweight workload under the 390 and nothing under the OS2 side, then you only need the minimum memory for OS2, 32 megabytes. But OS2 will support up to 256 megabytes. If you're going to use the box for as a LAN server, as well as a 390 processor, you need to use up more memory on the OS2 side. So I think we're done. I better just put this back on. Does anyone have any questions on the hardware before we go on? Any questions so far? None at all? How much?
No.
Don't do prices, it's a user group. I can discuss it with my assistant afterwards. But they're not, it's less than I get paid. Let's put it that way. So it's less than a year's salary for me. So that's not a lot, is it, Phil?
You can ask him how much he gets paid, though.
No. So, that's the hardware, and hopefully, what's this? Oh. Can we have the barcode back on, Jonathan, please? Yes. So as you can see, while we were away, MVS carried on IPLE. Additions in terms of running the code processes alongside it running the 90 megahertz Pentium. And although the mainframe chip is as near as damn it a 4381 model group 3 processor, so if you ran a compute-intensive workload, it would actually match a 4381 model group 3 quite closely. As soon as you get into I/O, it just doesn't compare at all. I have a more detailed document, and there is another one available that actually describes the processor performance and gives you some workload scenarios. So if anyone's really interested in this, you can get in touch with me through your local IBM office. Just phone your local IBM office and ask to speak to Mark Cathcart, and I can arrange to get that to you. It's a 60-page document, so I didn't bring one on as handouts. But that has in it the processor performance, but it is really quite noticeable. The difference once you get into I/O, because the I/O here is managed completely by the Pentium. Yes, so the only issues with running MVS, we've moved now between me and one of the other guys in the technical support organisation in enterprise systems in the UK. We've moved substantial amounts of code onto this box. The simplest way to actually move applications onto it is to take copies of the load modules and the data, to download them to an RS6000 or something with a 4mm DAT tape drive, and then copy them over on the DAT tape drive. If you're using one of these with the VM system, they actually have a facility for use with VM, which shows that VM's been working with this a little bit longer. I suspect that if this proves to be a success in an MVS environment, that we'll see a similar facility at some stage in the future. But in a VM environment, they have something that's called transparent file access facilities. And what that does is it allows you, through a communications link, to attach your user ID on the mainframe. So you can connect through a 3270 emulator, for example, to a mainframe, and it makes the facilities that you have on your mainframe session look like they're local. So you can just copy from the mainframe to the hard disk on here. Of course, if you've got the channel cable, there's nothing to stop you actually connecting up to a 3088 or whatever. No, I meant a channel-to-channel adapter. 3088. So even I can remember hardware numbers occasionally. So you can connect it up to a channel. It has a channel emulator, so it will support being connected into a 3088. But otherwise, you can use the DAT tape or connect a real tape drive to it. Otherwise, we haven't really found any constraints on using the 390. We've not as yet rebuilt any code. We've not rebuilt any applications specifically to run on this. So we've not had to reassemble things or recompile things with different compiler options. And we've not had any unexpected breakages on it, no unusual app ends, we haven't had to take dumps. We did have but generally all of the facilities that you use from an application perspective, from a systems perspective, are available within the box. That's pretty much all I was going to do. I'm not going to log on to TSO, not because of any religious beliefs, but because I have no idea what the user IDs are. And apart from which, trust me, it's just TSO. And how exciting could that be? So, I'd like to finish by, well, not quite finish, but I'd like to ask if there are any questions. Any more questions? Any questions at all? Yes. How much does it weigh? I think it's probably about 80 pounds, 80, 85 pounds. It's a bit heavier than the normal one, as I say, because it's got the dual power supply. We do have, in fact, we have a weight, don't we? Because we've got to ship it back with UPS. Sorry? What was the problem with discs? Oh, you mean attaching real 3380s or 9345s? From what I understand, it's just a question of timing. What I'd like to do is volunteer. Hand up, please. Hand up. Oh, come on then, Steve. You've got 5 discs, Steve. Which one shall I take out? Can we switch back, Jonathan, to the barcode? 4. Number 4. Is that 4 from the left or 4 from the right? 4 from the left. 4 from the left. Right. 4 from the left. Right. So this side or this side? This side. 4 from this side. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. Now, my question is MVS still running? I have no idea, right? So we'll have a look and see. It could be just trying to work out where the discs are. Look, I'm trying to use this. What do we do? D, A.
D, A, go on.
Comma, all. Oh God, that may be a mistake. And there you go. I know that's good or bad, but there you go. So, that's it. I used to say I wouldn't recognise an MVS system if it hit me on the head. Now I think I would. So there you go. It's a RAID array because the disks were, we checked last night, all 10 gigabytes of space were actually set up and running as one, well, as two partitions from OS2. So from the disk side, the OS2 system sees it as one physical disk made up of 5 separate disks, and then you can then partition that any way you want.